welcome to my channel. My friends are getting married in just 2 days and I still haven't sewed my wedding guest dress. I'm going to make it out of this fabric that I'm holding here and I'm going to show you how I do it. Let's get into it. I've laid out all of my bodice pieces to start. I cut these out last night and I added interfacing to the back of all of them. I also have some straps prepped and ready to go, as well as the fabric for the pockets. I also cut out identical black pieces for all of these here to act as the lining. I also cut out 2 large skirt pieces like this one on the fold. I began by sewing all of the bodice pieces together like this, and I did the same with the lining. Here we have the bodice mostly assembled. Here I've got all of these seams that need to be ironed down flat. And then I'm going to top stitch with a similar green thread along all of these seams in the front. All of the top stitching is done along these seams on the bodice piece, and the next step is to put the lining and the shell layer right sides together. So I'll be sewing from about there to there and there to there, and then of course on the other side. For the straps, I made 2 strips that are 2 inches wide and 21 inches long. I folded them as you would bias tape and ironed them. And now I'm just going to sew along each side of each strap. Now that the straps have been prepared, all I'm going to do is place it all the way up to the top like this. And then I'm just going to sew across the top a couple times to make sure it's nice and secure. So I almost completely finished the bodice and realized that I used a couple of the wrong pattern pieces from a previous version of this pattern when I was still perfecting it, and it does not fit. So I'm going to have to redo everything. I'll show you how I do a couple of things differently, but I'm basically going to do all of that over again, and then I'll meet you at the part where we're adding in the straps to the back of the bodice. Here are all of my newly laid out pieces. I'm going to be following the same exact steps as I did for the first version of the bodice. The only difference is that I went ahead and serged around all of the pieces just to keep them from fraying. I've now gotten to the point where I left off with the previous bodice. I have the straps attached here, and now I'm going to attach the strap to the back. So I marked where I want it to go, and all I'm going to do is undo the stitching a little bit by about, a centimeter or 2, basically the width of the strap, and then I'm going to turn it so that it is inside out again, and you place the strap through the hole, pull it through, and then you sew along this little line here. I'll show what it looks like after I do it. Here it is now sewed in, and I'm going to cut off this excess bit of the strap, but we've got it now attached onto the other side in a really nice and clean way. Now I'm just going to understitch the seam allowance to this lining part of the fabric. It is now day 2, and I finished up the bodice last night by understitching the lining. Now it is time to work on the skirt. The first thing I'm going to do is add pockets. I took one of my large skirt pieces and folded it in half evenly. I then cut all the way down, creating the center back seam for the zipper to go into. Then I serged the 2 back seam edges, leaving the rest of the edges unserged for now. I also serged along the curved parts of the pockets. I then pinned the pockets 4 inches down from the top and right sides together with the unserged edges of the skirt pieces. I did the same with the large front piece. I sewed the pockets down with a straight stitch and then serged all the way down all of the raw edges of the skirt pieces, leaving the bottom unserged. Then I top stitched the pockets along that little edge there to make them lie flat when wearing the dress. Next, I put all of the pieces together by matching up the back pieces with that front large piece and then sewing like this all the way down on both sides. And we have some nice pockets here. This is the full skirt piece, and the next step was to sew 2 gathering stitches along the top edge so I could gather it to the length of the bodice. I matched the side seams of the skirt with the side seams of the bodice and pinned everything in place, leaving the lining out of the pins. I then sewed all the way across. Here I'm just trying on the dress, still need to add the zipper, but I'm happy with how it's looking. I am now going to add the zipper. I've pinned it in place. I'm making sure not to get the lining in this because once I sew the zipper down, I'm actually going to fold the lining over and sew there so that I can get a really nice finished edge. So I folded the lining so that it was right sides together and sewed right along the zipper teeth. Now I am just turning everything right side out. It now looks like this. Here is how everything is looking. These don't line up perfectly, but I was honestly too lazy to go back and fix it. I do, however, love how the inside is looking. And now all I really need to do is close up the back here. I didn't use the full zipper, so I'm going to cut that down and close that up. Then I will hem the bottom. And then the last thing I'm planning to do is to just go in and hand stitch the lining down to the waistline just to make sure that it's not coming up when I'm wearing the dress. And then the dress will be complete.